I'm sure you've heard the saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You might even let out a chuckle because you know how true it is, especially if you're an educator. My experience in the EdTech Master's Program has taught me about designing instruction that engages the learner and improves learning. I have used Keller's ARC's motivational design model to transform We the People curriculum in exciting ways. ARCS is an acronym for Attention, Relevance, Confidence, and Satisfaction, the elements that boost intrinsic motivation. During EdTech 554, I blended the instruction by infusing technology. Some examples included practicing vocabulary using the Quizlet app on iPads, playing educational games like iCivic's game Do I Have a Right?, recording speeches on iPods for memorization and revision, writing and giving feedback in Office 365, and practicing presentations with students from other schools via Skype. Technology in the ARCS model helped me design a learning environment which sustains students' interest. Some even entered a state of flow as they got lost in what they were doing. I gave individuals freedom to choose how they wanted to spend their time preparing. This autonomy increased satisfaction as students customized their learning according to their needs and preferences. All the practice opportunities helped them gain confidence in their knowledge and their abilities. Then, during EdTech 535, I added game elements. I converted the units into levels, awarded digital badges for accomplishments, created learning game boards, incorporated speed challenges, and added a storyline. The novelty of the game captured students' attention from the beginning. The speed challenges added excitement through competition. Students were motivated by earning badges and leveling up, and the checkpoints allowed them to visualize their progress toward the goal, which they pursued with confidence. The level started off at a lower level of difficulty and gradually increased in challenge as the students became more proficient. The new and improved We the People project was fun and educational. ARC's model of motivational design can be implemented into any type of instruction to increase engagement and achievement. When I reflect on the last 15 years of my career, I realize that my teaching has gone through a radical transformation, which is best described as what Chris Dede calls a seismic shift in epistemology. The traditional approach of transmitting information to students I once employed has made way to social constructivist methods, where knowledge is built through activity and interaction. My pedagogical change did not occur overnight, but was the result of many years of constructing my own knowledge through training, practice, networking, and researching. The Boise State EdTech program has facilitated my professional growth during this process. My metamorphosis is depicted well with the word clouds I created during EdTech 554 to contrast learning in the 20th and 21st centuries. As a 20th century educator, I delivered information to my students through lectures, textbooks, worksheets, and so on, and they practiced and memorized. As a 21st century educator, I create a learning environment where students use digital tools to interact and collaborate, collectively building and distributing knowledge throughout the learning community. Don Tapscott lists 8 important shifts that need to happen to bring schools into the 21st century and move them from what he calls broadcast to interactive learning, from linear to hypermedia, from instruction to construction and discovery, from teacher-centered to learner-centered, from absorbing material to learning how to navigate and learn, from one-size-fits-all to customized learning, from learning as torture to learning as fun, from teacher as transmitter to teacher as facilitator. When I design instruction, I focus on the features at the right end of the continuum which promote interactive learning. One example of this was the digital learning experience I created for 5th graders to learn about the events, issues, and people of the Civil War. The students took on personas of men from all walks of life that became soldiers for the Union and Confederate armies. Acting as their soldiers, students participated in a simulation where they were faced with having to overcome the problems and fates that were common of the time. They journaled about their experiences, which they later produced in digital format. The learning that took place as a result of this experience was far more interesting and memorable to individuals because I allowed students to interact and construct their own knowledge. The principal at my school has been known to say just because you've taught something does not mean your students have learned it. Unfortunately, he's right. So, how can educators guarantee that students learn what's intended? One way is to align instruction and evaluation. The EdTech program has taught me how to do this. During EdTech 503, I discovered the ADDIE instructional design model is a helpful tool. ADDIE is an acronym for Analysis, Design, Development, Implementation, and Evaluation. During analysis, the needs are examined to define what learning needs to occur or what problem needs to be solved as a result of instruction. When I created my instructional design project, I started with a needs assessment survey, which involved an analysis of learners, the learning context, the performance context, and I used the results to set my instructional goals and determine what type of instructional format would be the most valuable. Once the goal of learning has been established, it's time to design the instruction. During this step, objectives are written stating what the learner will do to demonstrate learning. Bloom's taxonomy comes in handy for choosing the right verbs to indicate the level of rigor. This is also when evaluation needs to be planned to ensure proper alignment. There needs to be a method for measuring each objective. As you can see from my instructional design report, I have listed all the objectives and have planned how I will evaluate each one. Other aspects of instruction include motivational strategies, scaffolding techniques, and pedagogical approach. Next comes the development phase. Daily lesson plans are written during this step, so pacing, formative assessments, differentiated instruction, and classroom management are all things to consider. At this time, instructional materials are created and resources are collected. When I started developing the instructional guide for my project, I used a flowchart to help me visualize the process. From there, I wrote my lesson plans. Last but not least is evaluation. Many aspects of instruction should be evaluated, including learners' attitudes, materials, and instruction. The evaluation of these items will determine whether objectives have been met and will help identify areas for improvement. For my instructional design project, I used an observation checklist during the workshops, a rubric to assess the final performance task, and a survey to determine how the teachers perceived the instruction. Are two heads better than one? After my experience in the EdTech program, I definitely think so. Collaborating with other professionals has enhanced my learning. The EdTech Moodle learning platform created a community of practice for students seeking master's degrees in educational technology. A community of practice, according to Wigner, is groups of people who share a concern or passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact. The members of the online learning community shared an interest in educational technology and were committed to learning from one another. The discussion forums were valuable to me because I was able to read the responses of the other students with different perspectives. Most of the time, the posts provided me with unique insight that challenged my thinking, gave me ideas, or inspired me to try something new. It always amazed me that several individuals could read the same material or receive the same instruction and get something completely different from it. Another activity that was beneficial to me was giving and receiving feedback on work. Viewing other students' works allowed me to see how my work compared, and it gave me examples that helped guided me in the right direction. The constructive criticism I received helped me make continuous improvements and develop my knowledge and skills. There were several instances during the EdTech program that I was required to collaborate with other students on a project. I learned that everyone has a unique skill set, which they contribute to a group. During EdTech 535, I worked with two others to create a presentation about game theory. What resulted when the three of us put our minds together was pretty creative. We decided that since the topic was game-based learning, we should make a game show. We divided up the task according to our strengths. I conducted research on the theories and took notes. Another student wrote the script, and the third created the multimedia presentation. We decided to model our game show after Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we named ours Gamification-aire. What we accomplished as a team is far better than anything I would have created on my own. I've taken what I've learned about collaboration and applied it in my own classroom. My students use online platforms like Edmodo and Seesaw to connect and collaborate with others. I give them frequent opportunities to work together, and I work hard to create a community where all students can learn from one another. A mixed pedagogical approach can be very effective in a 21st century learning environment. David Hung suggested that human cognition is complex. Therefore, one should utilize multiple models of learning rather than thinking the theories are incompatible. Various theoretical approaches should be combined to meet multiple learning targets. In behaviorism, information is presented, practiced, and memorized. The learner is given feedback to produce the desired outcome. Cognitivism deals with processing information for storage and retrieval. The learner is taught strategies to improve recall of information. Constructivism is an individual constructing knowledge through active, self-regulated discovery and experimentation. The learner is presented with an authentic problem to solve in a realistic context. Social constructivism is the branch of constructivism involving collaboration. Knowledge is collectively built and distributed throughout the community by social interaction. The project-based learning unit I designed for EdTech 542 demonstrates how I put a variety of learning theories into practice to improve instruction. A behaviorist pedagogy was adopted for learning that needed to be modeled and practiced. Skills such as note-taking and citing sources followed a specific format and required direct teaching. Then students were expected to replicate the process in an I do, we do, you do lesson format. Behaviorist methods were also used to help students memorize declarative knowledge about the geography and history of the New World. The instruction took a cognitivist approach when students were involved in gathering and organizing information. They conducted research, then applied the information to create interactive maps. Cognitive tools like a concept map of the unit were utilized to connect big ideas. The students created their own graphic organizers and Poplet as they planned. Project-based learning also aligned well with constructivist and social constructivist epistemologies. Knowledge was built as students designed and created educational games for teaching history content. Individuals were responsible for certain aspects of the project, and other tasks were completed by a group. I facilitated the learning by providing tools, resources, and scaffolding support as needed for success.